Welcome to Insight Builder channel. Introducing Pydantic AI, the Agentic Framework, Part 4. From forms to conversations. Building agentic inputs with Pydantic AI. Well, what are we going to do? We are going to change from legacy forms to agentic conversations. And in order to do that, what we are going to do is we have to understand what is, first of all, wrong with legacy forms. So let us take a look at a legacy form right now. Let us execute this code, which is going to show us a legacy form, what I mean by legacy form and how we interact with it. So here we have a simple form-based input where we are going to input three information, length, width, and height. And then we are going to submit it, and you see that it's giving me a dimension right now along with the box, etc., and it's printing it. Now the main challenge is that form is rigid. In order to change anything, if you are going to have any input that is missing, or if you want to change it, then you have to change the backend code, right? There is a considerable amount of boilerplate code which has been again modified, and it has been made a little more easier by creating various packages. Like for an example, this output that you see here, and let me execute this again. The framework you are seeing here, which is giving me this good looking form, is actually through a package called as PyWebIO. I did not write any of the HTML or the CSS for the styles, etc. I had to just write a very simple code. So this is the line of code that I have written to create the form. Yeah, a lot of boilerplate code has been already removed, but there is a package that you need to import, right? Let us go back. Changing UX means modifying the entire application. Now assume that if someone comes and says to me that the UI doesn't look good, I want a different kind of a font here or some other kind of input, then I need to change everything, right? And moreover, users can be unfamiliar with these kinds of structured form. What if the user doesn't know what input they need to provide? It can be a reason for a lower conversion rate. Sometimes this form can be complex, and the flow of the form might lead to a conversion problem when you are trying to convert the lead into a customer. And finally, there is a challenges in scalability of the system. Assume that we need to move from English to some other language. So then what we will do? Will we again change everything? Or how about if you are going to create a different kind of interface for different demographics? So all these things leads to different challenges, right? How to overcome this? So that is where the idea of conversations comes into picture. Now, real-world use cases for conversational UI. There are a lot of places where the customers are comfortable having a conversation with the AI and they get the things sorted out. The chatbots have been improving rapidly, and packages like Pydantic has been a very important addition to these supporting ecosystem. What we are going to do is, in customer onboarding process, in the booking systems, in the financial applications, we can actually use these chatbots in a productive fashion. We can leverage AI to interpret unstructured data. This is something that I will be showing you in a couple of minutes. You will be seeing that the conversation can be made intuitive also. A simple backend processing with the data structuring can be done with the LLM models. Because at the end of the day, when you're going to do the forms, you have to have a proper backend to manage that also. But in case of the processing of conversational UI, the structuring is done by the LLM itself. And finally, we can balance the automation with the user control. Let us now look at the demo first, so that you guys can understand what I'm trying to tell. So let us close this form and let me start another demo. So I'm going to say Python result validation. So you guys might be wondering that this is actually running in a virtual environment. So regarding the setup, etc., I would suggest you to look at my other videos that I already made on Pydantic AI. So that will give you a good introduction to this entire framework. Let us get back. Here it is giving you a blank chatbot, okay, chat box. I have not actually given any kind of predetermined instructions, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give some gibberish. So I'm going to say I'm looking play again, right? This is an empty chatbot, right? And you see that it went into result validator and it told, and it is coming and telling me as an error that box not found, give the box dimension, right? I gave a dump update to the AI and it gave me a direction to follow, right? This is the first important idea that I wanted you guys to learn, okay? By simply letting the UI to be a simple box, like a search box. If you go to YouTube, you can see that there's a simple search box at the top, right? And rest of things comes after the search box. So like that, you can create a very simple UI for yourself. Now, if I am going to give a proper box with the length, width, and depth and unit centimeters and submit it, you'll see that it is going into the tool, it is able to give me a proper dimension. Apart from that, it is also confirming that whether it is right. So if I confirm yes, and if I submit it, the dimensions are confirmed and the dimensions are again repeated to you. Assume, now if I have to give that I have a box of length 25 inch, height of 66 mm and width of 5 meter, and I press enter. Now what will happen is this is going to go into the tool and it is going to actually extract all of these things and it is converting the units to inches, right? I did not ask it to do anything, right? I just gave that first unit is length is inch and rest of the things it actually converted. Okay, and here the conversion is wrong. You might say that the conversion is wrong. So yeah, you can actually say no. The moment I say no to the confirmation that this is not the dimension I am giving, then it actually goes back to starting. It says give the length, width, and breadth and unit of the box. So if you make a mistake, it is still extracting the data, even though it is extracting it wrongly, but it is asking you for confirmation, right? So these things are pretty useful when you are going to work with the customers. And think about it, the customer is not yet leaving this page, right? The customer is not errored out. He is not told that, okay, you have to come up with something else, and the session is not timing out. These kinds of things becomes very crucial when you are going to convert a lead into a customer, right? Now, let us actually go a little further and let us make the life of the model a little more easier. The box has a dimension of 25 mm length, 55 mm width, and a meter in depth. Right, now you see I am giving it in a proper sentence, right? It is going into the tool and then you see what is it is doing. It is converting that a meter into a proper unit of mm and it is giving me the updated dimension. Now this is what I call it as a proper chatbot. Whatever input you are giving, it is properly validated and then it is converted into the way you want, and then it is confirmed, then it is pushed into your front end. This is the benefit of working with Pydantic AI and as a whole working with the agentic framework. So now what is actually happening in the backend? Before we dive into the code, I want to further give you some feedback on how you can work with the conversational AI kind of inputs or forms. So there are three types of inputs that you can get from the user. One is by direct prompting, or you can get the free form input like how I showed you right now, the second form, and the third is the hybrid form, which is having both the form-based input as well as the free-form input. So these are three kinds of ways you can get the input from the user when you are working with the agentic chatbots. Now, we saw the free-form user input right now. So we receive the user input, we pass the input with the agentic tools, we validate the data, and then we handle the errors. So all of these steps I showed it to you in this particular simple demo. So I started with the error handling, right? That is very important. How you handle error in the chatbot is very crucial. Here I dumped the entire stack trace. You are not going to do that to the customer, right? You are going to just give this final step that you are not given the box. So kindly give me the box details. So that's what you are going to do. But here, as you are a developer who is looking for understanding how these things are working, I am sharing all of these things to you. And if you are thinking from where I got this, I got it from Pydantic exceptions. So I'll be sharing you these details in a couple of minutes. Let us go back. So again, what happens when the user doesn't give all the necessary inputs? You saw what happens, right? You actually ask the user to confirm it or ask the user to again restart. And it's the best way, right? If the user is not giving you all the data and if your chatbot proceeds, it's not going to work out. You have to properly validate it and proceed it. When it comes to validation, there is a result validator method inside Pydantic, but keep one thing in mind. The result validator is only to ensure that your tool is working properly, but it will not go and ask the user again. So you have to manually create a loop to get the user input again if the user is not giving the input properly. Meaning, just to give you an example, that initially when I started, I gave a wrong input. So I came into this blank looking chatbot and I just told, okay, I'm looking to play a game. And it told, okay, dude, no, I am not here to play a game with you. I need the box dimension. And then I started properly giving the box details, right? So the result validation loop and the data validation, free-form conversation, everything has its own benefits as well as it can actually have its own downsides also. But you saw the benefits of it right now, right? Once the agent has found that there is a mistake in the user input, again, the user is informed that there is something wrong. So kindly update it and give me the correct inputs. And once all the inputs are properly received, then the agent proceeds to the next step. This is how your entire framework has to work when you are going to work with the chatbot. And all of these things are possible with Pydantic AI, and it is super easy to code also. Now, we are seeing the entire process right now. So we have seen the demo of all this 4 steps for free-form user input, and we saw the benefits of working with making the forms as conversational UI. And also one of the main thing is if there is going to be any change in the backend or if there is going to be any change in the user requirement, you don't need to change the UX. The UX is going to be simply a box, right? It's not going to change. The backend you can change whatever you want, but the front end is going to be a simple box. How easy can that be? Think about it. These inputs that you are getting here, the x equal to, y equal to, and z equal to, and the units, this can actually go ahead and call a REST API server. It could call a function. It could do n number of things, right? This is how the REST API itself is going to be replaced, right? Or the front end that is connecting to the API is going to be replaced. Even if you are going to have any kind of CLI based input also, the same thing can be followed. You can, I have shown you in a web interface, right? Since I have PyWeb.io, I wanted to show you in a decent looking interface. I'm showing it to you here. But I can simply go back to the CLI and I can show it here also. No one is going to stop me, right? But the point I want to make is that the UI is going to remain the same even if your backend is going to be modified or if your requirement from the end user is going to be modified. So this is one of the major impact that many people are talking about, and Pydantic AI has done it really easy for us to implement that. Well, we have seen the demo. Now let us jump into the code. Code is pretty simple. I believe that you guys have reviewed the other parts of the Pydantic AI introduction. So with that said, let me start. What happens in case of the result validation is, you need to first of all have a couple of things. You need to have the output type that you want. And that output type is a Python class. In my case, it's going to be a class called as box, and it is inheriting the base model. You can see it in line 10. And it has 4 parameters, attributes if you want to call it that. It is having X, Y, Z and the units. And all of these attributes are given the necessary description, and by default it is set to none. This is important for the agent to know what it is dealing with. Next, we have no box. So this is a type which you need to inform to PydanticAI or the agent, that if the user is not giving the right parameters or the right data, then it has to create a no box. So when it creates a no box, when the agent is creating a no box, then it can be used to raise an error. So this is one of the main things that you guys have to be aware. So having a type which is opposite to what you want is very useful. So let me write it here. Having a type or class that is opposite to what you want, meaning you want a box which is having attributes X, Y, Z and unit, and opposite of that is a no box which doesn't have anything, right? It doesn't have X, Y, Z and unit. So, and you don't want to have it. Next, the measuring agent. The measuring agent is going to use OpenAI GPT-4 or Mini, and the system prompts tells that extract the dimensions of the box from the given input. You should use the tools available with you, and you must extract all parts of the box dimensions. See, what happens in case of PydanticAI is, when you are going to give a box input properly, if you are going to give a very simple three dimensions of the unit, it may not even use a tool. Okay, so Agentic Interface will simply extract all the 3 or all the 4 attributes and create a box for you without using the tool. Okay, so keep that in mind also. And the result type is where we are telling that I need either it should be a box or it should be a no box. Okay, this is important. I will tell you why. And then I am going to give a maximum retry of 2 retries. So where this retry is going to be useful, I will be sharing it in a couple of minutes. So let us continue. Now the tool part. So the tool part is injected into the measuring agent, and the tool name is extract dimensions. You can see in line number 35. Here it is not a plain tool, it's actually a tool that has a context. You can actually have a plain tool also. This is having all the sorry about the disturbance. We have the length, width, depth and unit. So here we are giving clearly what are the units or what are the types of these parameters that we want, and we are giving the docstring also in line number 38. And finally, we see that there is this put text inside tool. So that is what is actually showing you here. So whenever I am going to ask in a free-form fashion, it is going to call the tool. Okay, and if I don't ask it in a free-form fashion, it may not even go to the tool itself. It will be able to extract it without calling the tool. So that is also possible. Let me check that out. So let me execute this again, and let me show you what I mean. Meaning that all the time the agent may not actually call the tool. So if I give a box 5 cross 8 cross 6 mm, this is going to be a straightforward extraction, right? So let us see what happens. You can see it is going inside the tool and it is extracting it. Okay, and if I have told that the tool usage is optional, then it will not actually go into the tool. So let me show you that next. Let me stop this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into the agent and I'm going to comment this out. So you should use the tools available with you. I'm commenting that out. Okay, now this line has been commented out and this result type is known to the agent. So let us see what the agent does right now. These kinds of experiment is very important when you are trying to learn the Python packages. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, copy it, and I'm going to come here and paste it and submit. Let us see whether it goes into the tool. You see that it did not go into the tool. Here it went into the tool, okay, but here it did not go into the tool. Okay. Now, what if I go ahead and take another one example? So I go here and I say, I make it a little more free form. Unit is centimeter, depth of 57, and width is 6. Box has a length. So now I'm going to submit it. And let us see what it does. So here I have not told it specifically to use a tool. So let us see whether it is able to use a tool, and just a minute. And it is taking time because it is actually trying to search what else to do next. Right. So these kinds of challenges you have to experiment and see what kind of response you get from the agent. Right. And let us go back. Let this work and let us execute the let us continue discussing the code. So we are discussing about this tool and how these tools are becoming part of the agent. We saw that also. By the way, there are other ways to present the tools to the agent. So you can take a look at the Pydantic documentation. You will find there are 2 more ways to do that by using the direct key value keyword args to the agent class itself. So that is also available, but this is much more straightforward. So I will be continuing using this. Okay, now comes the interesting part. You see, there was a place where it was validating the result. So let us see what has happened. Okay, so here it has, just a minute. Okay, so here what had happened is initially when I started working on the chatbot, I had told looking to play, right? And when I submitted it, what it had happened is it actually entered into the validator and it actually failed. The validation failed, right? This validation process happens using this code, the result validator. By default, whenever a result is created, the agent actually calls the result validator. Okay, if the result validator is set, if it has been injected, then it calls the result validator. And that's how the line number 46 entering the validator comes up. And also in line number 47, you see the result inside the validator. If you go back here, if you go up, you see that result inside the validator is empty because it has not been able to find any of the boxes, correct? So it is not able to find any result. Now this here, the result becomes a no box because it has not got any of the parameters. So it becomes a no box and it raises the user error on line number 49. And that is how you get this error. And you can use this error. I have actually given a complete stack trace here. That is why it is actually giving you all this information, because if you come down here, I have given a complete trace back, which is actually not required. If you are not going to give that, then it will not give you the complete trace back. But then this is how it is happening. So I just wanted to tell how the result validator works, and on top of it, you can use model retry. So there is an option called as model retry. If you scroll up, so there is an option called as model retry. You can actually use that, and the agent will return the message to the model, and it will ask to retry, calling the tool again. So this is only to call the tool again. It will not ask the user input for you. Okay, keep this in mind. Initially, when I was working with this model retry, I was thinking it will ask for the user input again. You need to ask for the user input manually, right? This will only call the tool again through the agent. Okay, so I believe that this particular part is very clear. And after that, the rest of the things are pretty simple. So this is the loop that I'm using. And if you want, you can have a very elaborate way of checking individual length, breadth, width, and unit, etc. and then you can check it, but it's not required. As you saw, that a simple validation, if the box is going to be a no box, then automatically the user error will be raised and the user will be asked to give the correct details. So in this way, the user can be told what is required. And if the user is missing something, then he will not be led to move forward. So it's a very simple setup. Yeah, people can have multiple opinions on this, and you can accordingly change what you want using the Pydantic AI framework. So you can use freeform or you can use hybrid option, as I already told you. So in this discussion, we saw the challenges of the legacy forms. We reviewed how we can use conversational UI in the real world cases. We saw the demo of it. We reviewed the different types of conversational UIs that you can create. And then what kind of flow you will have to follow when you are going to use a freeform user input and how Pydantic AI supports for that. So we saw all of these things, we reviewed the code also, and I believe that this video has been helpful to you guys to understand how to validate the conversations with Pydantic AI, and do leave a comment if you have any questions or doubts, and subscribe to my channel for further updates on similar kind of videos. With that said, I would like to leave this video with 4 words, that is practice, 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 practice. See you guys, have a great time.